Welcome everyone to the third episode of 30 Minutes Robotic Milking Edition. I'm your host, Marcia Andres, animal science, dairy science professor and extension specialist at the University of Minnesota. We're very pleased to have you today. Join us for this 30 episode. And I'm also pleased to have with us Jim Sulfur, who is a dairy extension educator at the St. Cloud Regional Office. Hi, Jim.
Hi, welcome.
Welcome.
And thanks for everybody for joining us.
Right, and thank you for joining. I'm having a few technical difficulties today, but looks like we're here. So appreciate everybody joining us. And Jim, thank you for your help later on with the question and answer session. Appreciate that.
No, thank you.
So just as a reminder, if you're watching this as a recorded webinar or a recorded discussion, we have these live presentations on the third Thursday of every month at 11:30 a.m. Central US time. To register, please go to z.eoman.edu/30minrm, and then you receive your Zoom link to join the event live next time. Before we get started with the discussion, I just want to let you know that the producer will give an overview of their dairy operation for about 10 minutes or so. And after that, we're going to open up for a question and answer session. The way we're going to do this is that you're going to be typing your question or comment in the Q&A box. If you hover your mouse on the bottom of your screen, you find the Q&A box. Please do not use the chat box. And either Jim or I will ask the question or make the comment on your behalf for the producer to respond. We'll be turning on live captions. If you want to turn them off, you can do so on your own computer again by going to the bottom of the screen and turning that off. I would like to also use this opportunity to invite you to join us for the Precision Dairy Conference that we're hosting in June 22nd and 23rd of this year at the Hyatt Regency, Bloomington, which is about 5 minutes drive from the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, along with a virtual live streaming option. Please join us for that. Look forward to seeing you. Today, we're very pleased to invite to join us our guest is dairy producer Brian from Indiana. And Brian is going to, again, give us an overview of their facilities and then follow up with questions. Hi, Brian. Hey, there you are.
Hi.
Technology is working.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us. So I'll be sharing the slides that you sent to me earlier and your pictures of your farm, and then we'll have that overview, and afterwards we'll have a discussion. So I'll move forward to your first picture, and I'll try to turn my video off. So we'll just have you on for now.
Well, thanks for having me. So what you see here is kind of an overview of our dairies. On the bottom of the screen is our conventional dairy that where I was born and raised, and that has a double 25 parallel parlor that was built in the year 2000. So currently we're milking about around 2,000 cows there. And you can see, that farm was pieced together over 30 years. And so when I came back from college, it was kind of a dream of mine to build a dairy from scratch, to take advantage of new technologies and new efficiencies. And so you can see there kind of in the middle of the screen or of the picture there, that's our robot cross vent barn. So initially we were going to put a rotary parlor there. And when we kind of changed gears and one of the things you can see there, we got trees to the left and we got a ditch to the right, and so we were going to have barns that straddled those woods, and so changing to a cross vent design really allowed us to utilize the ground better, and we've been really happy with it, and also switching from gears from a rotary where you're going to milk 3,000 cows. That's kind of why we ended up with the number of robots that we have. We, started with 24, with the barn built for 48, but we wanted room for dry cows and maternity. So right now we've got 36 robots running. We just passed the 4-year anniversary, and robots have been running good. We have all of our cows there inside that facility, and then all the robot dry cows, far off dry cows, are in there as well. And so you can see even above that, we've got our automated calf feeders. Actually, we've got one more in there now, so we've got 4 barns that hold 200 head, 8 auto feeders, and we're approaching 6 years on auto feeders, and really love them compared to where the hutches we had before. So overall, there in the picture, we've got a little over 4,000 cows milking and heifers that we keep for 6 months of age, and then we send them to a grower from there. So here's kind of a 3D, cartoon image of the robot barn. We've got 3 robots per pen, and then 6 robots in each room. We kind of designed it that way to make it easier for maintenance. You got multiple robots there in the same area, and then we got about 180 stalls there in each pen, 6-row configuration. And then we've got our sort pen up there in front of the robot. So it was one of the challenges with having the 3 robots in a line like that is, how do you sort the cows, and can you sort the cows efficiently? And we found that it works really well. If a cow's in the last robot and she needs to get to the sort pen, she'll get milked, the gate will open, she'll go through the first 2 robots then and into the sort pen. So the herdsmen, when they come in the morning, the cows that they need to see are all in that sort pen, so they don't have to disturb the whole group just to see the cows that they need. So yeah, here's the real picture, and this was from day one. You can see the 3 robots in the row there, and the cows checking out the robots for the first time. So just to give you a visual, that was, we got lots of room up in front of the robots, because that was something that we were told was important beforehand, and we see it very important because it's a lot of cows congregating there in front of the robots all the time. So we've got 2 Junos inside the barn to push up there. The 3,000 cows. It's a little bit of a stretch for 2, but we get it done. They run about every 4 hours, so it's about an hour and a half of run time when there's not problems, and then they got 2.5 hours of charge time. You can see there we put headlocks in our sort pen, and then the rest of the barn is neck rail. If we were to do it over again, I probably would have put headlocks or slant bars in the entire barn, and hopefully someday I'll get that changed over. It was really interesting that when we first put in the original 24, so half the barn does have headlocks because we had pregnant heifers and dry cows there. And when you're looking in the feed lane, when you got neck rail on one half and you got headlocks on the other half, you can tell that the cows are a lot more comfortable eating through a headlock than the neck rail, and then they don't have to worry about the boss cows as much. So it kind of learned that by mistake. So when we did start up in the robot barn, we'd have the sort pen open, and the cows would come and eat out of the headlocks first before they would eat out of the neck rail. So that was kind of my first clue that I think cows actually do prefer headlocks over neck rail. So that was kind of interesting. So yeah, just another view of the 3 robots, and then of course we got the Luna brushes. The cows absolutely love those. It is time to replace some of those, but the cows, yeah, absolutely love them. And then so one of the unique things that we've got is the milk. We got a tunnel through the center of the barn, and then the milk is actually in the basement. So above so below the office and part of the robot barn, we've got a basement area, and then the milk trucks, the tankers just back right inside the building. to stay out of the weather and keep things clean. It's kind of become a wash bay at times too. So especially this time of year when you got the big melt, the snow melt going on and mud everywhere. So, but that's, yeah, that's our 8,000 gallon milk tank that, so we're doing about 2.5, actually, we just touched over 200,000 pounds a day, again, out of the robots, and things are going pretty good. I think I went a little too fast on there, didn't I? Is that all my pictures?
Yes, you're very efficient, Brian. That was relatively fast. So we might have questions from the audience to kind of get some more of the details that maybe got missed here. Let me see if we have any questions already. If not, Jim and I can kind of ask questions. Jim, please join us too. We do have a question already. Somebody's asking, why did you choose Laylee robots over other brands? Was there a specific reason for that?
So when we made the decision, it was really Laylee or De Laval. The other robots hadn't been released yet. And so we met with both companies, and obviously they both made some pretty decent offers, but it came down to, and it's service is going to be huge for robots no matter which company you go with. And let's just say we were fortunate to have a good service for either company that we chose, so that wasn't an issue, which could be in some areas of the country. So it came down to price, and we asked each company what they thought as far as yearly maintenance on the robots, and then also upfront costs, and I guess Laylee kind of gave us a better offer at the time. And the other big factor is to be the first one to go to this scale, which was not planned, that just kind of happened that way. We wanted to go with the company that we felt was more experienced. Not to say that there wasn't issues. Of course, doing any project, large or small, you're going to run into it's never as smooth as you think it's going to be. But yeah, we just felt like Laylee's whole business started with the robot, and it just they were more experienced, I guess, and so we felt like we needed to do that to be when we're doing this large scale, that we ought to be going with the one that's got more experience.
Just follow up with similar follow-up question, I guess. This, like, how did you decide between Rotary and Robots? So besides the brand now, between Rotary and Robots.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good question, and I think the three major reasons still apply. When we were looking at it, labor was an issue, and it still continues to be an issue. Nobody wants to milk cows anymore, and so it's harder to find. You're having to pay more to keep them, and so the robots don't call in sick, they don't show up drunk, all those things. So yeah, labor was one. Number two was just the cow comfort. Giving the cow the freedom to choose when she wants to milk, when she wants to eat, lay down. We felt that was good for cow comfort, and also for the consumer. The consumer's telling it tells us a better story, which it's interesting. We have to be careful because we've got both, but I just think going forward, talking about how the cows have all the freedom, but then what my wife will do is she'll differentiate. Well, it's kind of like schools. Some cows like it, some cows don't. So the cows that don't want to choose on their own, where we have to tell them, we can bring them back to the conventional dairy, and then they get milk 3 times a day. But it tells a better story. And I think as well, I thought before that it was more activist resistant. We've now since seen that activists can turn anything bad. So That's not necessarily the case anymore, but and 4 years later, it's still, we have way less turnover in that robot barn than we do in the parlor. And it's almost that there's too much freedom though. That's when we have challenges with labor there, it's because there's too much freedom and guys kind of get relaxed, a little too relaxed. But no, it's labor and the job and giving the cows the freedom. Those are kind of the three reasons that we went that direction.
Sounds good. We have lots of questions, Brian. So we'll
Okay.
invite Jim to come in and ask the next question, Jim. Thank you.
Sure, there's a couple of them that kind of fall together. One is about stocking density based on the number of stalls, and also stocking density of the robots. How many kind of cows per robot do you put on that? And another facility type question is, how did you decide on 3 robots per pen? So kind of around stocking density, robots per pen, stocking density to the robot, things like that.
So the 3 robots per pen was kind of an accident. So when we were initially doing our design, you know, like I talked about how we were going to do a rotary first, and we were going to have the big long barns. When we first decided to go to robots, we were going to keep that barn design and have the robots on the outside of the barn, just in case they didn't work. We wanted to take them out and put in a parlor. So in that design, when you have a barn that's 1,600 feet long, you can only pump milk so far in those robots. And with 2 robots in a pen, your robots were getting too far away from your milking center or your milk house. And so, just in those discussions I brought up, I'm like, well, what if we put 3 robots in a pen? And everybody's like, well, I guess why not? So we started talking about it, and there was some people that thought, well, that's too many cows in a pen, it's going to be too hard to fetch. And we're like, our pen sizes are now 180 cows, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. Sorting was a big issue, a big concern, whether you could sort them into that sort pen. But we just decided, I think there was one other farm that had 1 pen that way, and it had been working. And so we just decided to go for it. And then when the design changed, we already had our mindset, we were going to do 3 robots per pen. And one of the benefits there is, if you think about it, if you got 2 robots in a pen and 1 robot goes down, you lost half your capacity to milk cows. But if you got 3 robots in a pen and 1 robot goes down, you only lose 1/3 of your milking capacity. So, on our scale, it just seemed to make sense. And, we've been happy with that decision. And so it works for us. And then as far as the stocking density goes, or cows per robot, we've done, obviously, with 36 robots, you can try a lot of things. I think all but 2 of the pens have 177 stalls. 2 of the pens, I think, are 2 less than that because of our alley scrapers. Drive cable was kind of in the way there. If I were to do it again, I probably would have pushed a little bit more stalls, because I think that first year we had a heifer pen that we got up to about 200. And we're like, that's no big deal. In our conventional dairy, we overstock 15%. It works just fine. Well, the interesting thing is, my night manager at the time, he started complaining to me because, about 1 o'clock in the morning, all the cows want to lay down, and they were getting some heifers laying in the alley, which when you have alley scrapers isn't very good. And so we kind of backed off that for a little bit. But it's interesting that you don't think about it in a conventional setup, because no one, when you're not milking the cows, you're not out there watching or walking in the middle of the night to see what the cows are doing. But in the robot barn, when you got people there all the time, they see things a little differently. But anyway, so at 200, that puts you at like 64 robot. We kind of ebb and flow. So like right now, and last year was the same. In the spring, we'll have a lot of fresh cows. And that's been the weird thing is, we're 4 years in, and we still have, like in December, January, February, a lot of fresh cows, because that's when we started the robots, with all fresh cows. And then by summer we get kind of stale. And I keep thinking one of these years it's going to kind of level out. But and maybe eventually it will. But so right now we're a little over 2,300, I think 2,310 in the robots. And so all the pens are at least 190. And so that's about 63 a robot. But looking at the free time, we're still like 9% free time. So it's not like we're hurting anything yet. But by summertime, we'll probably be back down, that 62 cows in the robot. I don't want to be less than 60. I don't, yeah, but if I had more stalls, then we might have been able to push a little bit more.
Sorry, I messed up here with stop sharing again. Sorry, hope I didn't distract you very badly there, Brian.
No, you're fine.
So anyway, quick question. I mean, we have tons of questions, I should say. So I might get together with you afterwards to get some of these answered. The ones that have names, I can follow up with them. The ones that are anonymous, I can't. So I might focus a little bit more on the anonymous questions right now so we can get them answered. Could you please describe your foot bath procedure? Do you have foot baths? Where do they go?
Yes, then that's the number one question when you go to robots is what do you do with the foot bath? So ours were on the opposite ends of the away from the robots, and the idea was that we would run the cows through the foot bath the same time as we do the bedding, and that works. The one issue that we did is, well, it wasn't an issue. If we were to do it again, we would make sure we do a double lane foot bath. So it's a single file foot bath right now. And so when you can do the bedding in 15 minutes, but it takes us 45 minutes to run 180 cows through the foot bath. And that would be, I guess, my recommendation for anybody looking at it. If you're going to do it that way, I would recommend having it a double wide so you can get the cows through the bath faster. I still think, and I haven't really, well, obviously nobody really traveled last year, but I saw some foot bath sprayers at the robot. I still think that's the perfect solution. And I know of one farm that's done it and very happy with it. But until that, I guess, gets perfected, that's the next best thing. But yeah, so our foot baths are at the end.
Jim, do you want to ask maybe one more of the anonymous questions here? So make sure you take care of those first, and then we move on to the people that put their names later, maybe if we have time.
How does the milk production compare between your robot barn and conventional barn? And sort of along with that, what are the top key performance indicators that you look and measure as you're kind of evaluating your system?
So it's an interesting question. So right now, when I looked this morning, I guess the best comparison I can do is the first 2 years I did side by sides, and the robot barns were 6 to 8 pounds better. And now that we're 4 years in, I guess I'm not as proactive as analyzing and comparing. The other difference is, so we've got, and we've got a third facility that we're milking about 800, and those are all first lactation animals. So in the robot barn, we've got 4 pens of heifers, first lactation, and 8 pens of mature cows. So we got 25%, and I kind of like that number because I figured, okay, if we can hit a 25% cull rate, then we don't, then all the heifers that we got there will keep the barn full. And so then the other heifers that go to the other facility is about 95% of the rest of the heifers. So my main farm here, where I was born and raised, we're 95% mature cows. And so when you look at by farm, this farm's the best because it's older, all mature cows. But when I looked this morning, my mature cows here are doing about 5 pounds better than the cows in the robots. Now, having said that, we're doing about 0.2 pounds of butterfat, and now the protein's real similar. So that's where I got to be careful is yeah, okay, maybe we're getting a few more pounds of milk here, but also we're getting more fat there. I haven't plugged it into the ECM formula to see exactly where that lines up, but I do know typically, especially in the summertime, when we do better in the robots just because we got more control over the cow's environment. So other things that I look at, I think the biggest thing that we look at right now is reproduction. That was something that, we had that on cruise control before we started in the robots. And then as if, with any other expansion, something slips. Well, that slipped for us repro wise in the first year and a half, 2 years. And so that's been our biggest focus is repro and getting those cows pregnant more efficiently than we were, and so we finally got back to the levels we were before, plus with more sex semen usage. So I feel like that's been a win for us. Obviously we look at mastitis, but the fresh cow performance has been really good as long as we don't overstock our close-up cows. That is like the golden rule. That is the one rule that will never break, or we'll try our darndest not to break, is overcrowding close-up cows, and also making sure they get through their full 3 weeks in the close-up pen. The one big thing there is the fresh cows from the robots do seem to take off faster than they do here at the main farm. Not sure exactly why that is. But back to repro, our repro is 4 to 5% better preg rates in the robot barn compared to conventional. And again, I just think that has to do with less stress on the cow and the cow having, more freedom.
Okay, just follow up, since you've been talking a lot about convention versus the robot farm. How do you decide which heifers go to the AMS barn and which ones go to the conventional barn?
Right now, it's basically utter confirmation. So what we'll do, we'll fetch the heifers aggressively for the first 40 days. And then we kind of, after 40 days, you either get it or you don't. And so you'll look at day 50, day 55. If you've got a heifer that either has failures or has a lot of fetching, we'll then bring them back to the conventional dairy, because we have found, if you don't get them, that's I guess the one thing I do see, flipping in the conventional, the heifers take off faster because you're guaranteeing 3 milkings a day, where in the robots, maybe they only get 2.4, 2.5. So we have to be very vigilant on watching, these heifers at, around day 50 to make sure, they're milking well. Otherwise, they'll never reach their genetic potential.
Can you comment, Brian, on your fetching procedure for your fresh heifers? So a fresh heifer freshens in the robot barn. Do you fetch her 3 times a day? Kind of walk through those first 40 days on a heifer in your robot barn.
So how we fetch, and right or wrong, we do a fetch every 6 hours. And my theory, whether, again, could be right, could be wrong, is I'm splitting a twice a day fetch into 4. So that way, if a cow's a fetch cow, she's getting milked 1.8 times a day. So in essence, we're fetching twice a day, but we're splitting it up because of the larger pen size. So a fresh heifer is going to be on that fetch list every time. Now, whether she gets milked, 4 times a day, that's the goal, is to get them milked 4 times a day. I don't think they're getting milked 4 times a day, but they're getting milked at least 3 times a day. But that's kind of the one challenge when we're splitting our fetch list 4 times is, you got this heifer that, okay, she's 8 hours, without being milked. Okay, she gets on the fetch list. Well, now they've got 6 hours to complete that fetch list. So now all of a sudden you could be 15, 16 hours before she gets milked. And that's been one of my internal struggles, is how do I fix that? And I talked to Laylee years ago about, I would really like to have some sort of a time on when that cow, and so if I got a cow that goes 24 hours without being milked, I don't know who's to blame. If I got 2 shifts, which one is it to blame? And I've always wanted them to put on there what time she entered the fetch list. So then I know which employee I need to talk to. And so, you know, Laylee does a really excellent job with the amount of data that they put in the dashboard and the cow information. It's time, and I think for the future, when you have more farms with these larger robots, you're also going to need tools to rate your employees and how they're performing based on your expectations. And I think I just went way in the left field there, but that's that's something that bothers me on especially these fresh heifers, because it doesn't happen very often. But we've found we've had a couple of heifers that, for and if their first milking is a failure, they never end up on that fetch list. And we had one that she was living the dream. She was out there 3 weeks and only got milked once. And of course, by the time you find it, she's done. But we've learned from those mistakes. We got one person in charge of milking those fresh heifers the first time to make sure they're successful.
Thank you, Brian. I think we're going to end the official recording and the official time here. If you can stay with us a few more minutes, we could ask a few more questions. But for now,
Okay.
I would like to end at the 30 minutes here and thank everyone for attending. And please join us next time. Thank you very much, Brian. And please join us next time, April 15th. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to go to a small farm with only 2 robots, and that they have some they make cheese of the milk of their Jersey cows. And so stay tuned for that one and please join us. So I'm going to stop recording, but if you want to